think in some ways, anytime you're comparing other countries to the US is a bit unfair because we're so much larger than everyone else. We have thousands of banks. Our GDP is much larger than all the other countries we're compared to. I mean, that being said, most of the large firms, capitalism is something that can move around the world quickly. Money moves around quickly. So we're all interconnected. So what one does definitely impacts the other. I thought the ECB showed a bold move the other day by going 50 basis points. I thought, Chairwoman Lagarde made a bold statement by saying we still have inflation. Monetary policy is our first concern, and we will be able to withstand the decisions we need to make with respect to financial stability. I thought that was a great, strong comment, and I agree with it. And over the weekend, they showed that they could rectify CS. And I'm not saying where business is normal, but certainly a lot of the anxiety has been relieved. I think with respect to, what they're talking about, maybe Italian banks or Deutsche Bank and some of the other things, I mean, every country's going to have to make sure that they solidify their banking system, and the local central banks, along with FINMA and the ECB, are all going to have to work hand in hand. I think what we do in the States is very different. In this polarizing environment, it's much different. It's played 24/7. And probably, the only thing less popular today than politicians are probably, Wall Street employees and professionals. And so I think the idea of ever terming something a bailout is probably the biggest no-no possible. So although some will say, hey, well, you changed the system to make sure you protected the depositors, some people would call that a bailout. I actually think they didn't bail them out. I actually think they used the tools that they are allowed to use to protect depositors, and they made sure that the equity in the bondholders got flushed. I think that wasn't a bailout. I also think that by saying deposits are safe is not saying the same as the moral hazard of all deposits are immediately guaranteed. There's a big difference between guaranteeing 15 plus trillion things in one statement, 15 plus trillion of depositors in one statement, versus saying that your deposits are safe, because that puts the onus back on the bank. If they want your deposits guaranteed, that means that stock and those bonds got flushed and the management's gone. So I think they're putting out this carrot like, yes, we'll help you, but not really sure you want that help. So that's a big change, in my opinion, what's been done over the past week versus 2008. I'll never forget 2008. We were called that Friday, about 10 of us. I was representing, obviously, UBS, but you had JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, First Boston. And we were called in and was told Lehman Brothers, we have till Sunday night to decide whether they, will be around or not. Oh, and by the way, there will be no bailout. That's the first thing Paulson said. And at that meeting, you had the Fed, you had the SEC, and you had the Treasury. And so it was clear that from that time on, the term bailout, was kind of something that they couldn't live with. Although that being said, post that, because of what happened with the, AIG and everyone else, they did end up, and you could argue bailing out the banks, although they got paid out, quite nicely, and they took, some great terms on anything they gave to anyone. But certainly, post the Occupy Wall Street crisis and the whole race between Romney and Obama, things have changed dramatically since that. And I think the idea of the U.S., bailing out equity holders and bond holders is very different than making sure depositors are safe.